trying to divide us.
We're not trying to divide you. We are coming here with solutions for
That's
you.
the way it's coming across to us as a community.
I'm coming here as a sober person with, with reasonable judgment and the ability to assess these issues from a medical point of view. I ask you, do you think that Dr. Sloan is here, trying to shut the hospital down? Those of you who know Dr. Sloan, have been treated by him, who know how he turned around a failed hospital system in the Northern Plains, one that was non-compliant with the Joint Commission, one that had that was struggling with recruitment and retention. Within 3 years, he was able to get every single hospital within his system accredited by Joint Commission, and he managed to increase recruitment and retention. And he did that by working with staff. He knows the secret sauce to this. And to quote him, he says the solution is really very simple. You don't need a management company to do these things.
Dr. Luke.
Yes, sir.
I don't doubt any of the credibility of the individuals that you submitted, or any of the individuals that are here. Okay? But we have to figure out, how do we do this? And we have seriously been looking at these. We have seriously been looking at the resumes that you have sent in. We are very close to putting people, as far as who we choose on board. But it's not one of those where we can say, we're gonna have this for you in 2 weeks. As I've told you, it's the only way we can discuss anything is here. If not, we get Mr. Demas and we go back and forth.
I know you complain about the inefficiency of government.
That's a process that
Totally get it.
just doesn't work very good. But that's the way the law is written, and we have to comply with that. We're seriously are trying to make it work. Like I told you, I don't want to see the hospital closed. I don't think there's nobody in this room that wants to see that hospital
No.
closed. We want to continue to have it. We want to continue to go there. It makes it hard sometimes with bad press for people to go.
So, with all due respect, Commissioner Baca, to say that the bad press is the main issue when $25 million is not the main issue.
I didn't say it was the main issue, but it is a contributing factor.
I
Would
think
you
it,
agree?
yeah. I will not relitigate this. I will just say this one
No.
final time. This is a symptom, not the cause.
Correct.
It's a symptom, though.
And we will look to try to rectify that.
Okay, but I'm here offering you solutions. You've come before and said, nobody's ever offered us solutions. I hope that you can't say that anymore, because I am here with genuine, I think, very doable solutions. So I'm hoping that you will very strongly consider this, but I think that without this outside assessment, Mr. Whitaker will not have the political will or the organizational ability to make the changes that he needs to. So we're here to support him. We're here to support you. We bring things to light because we want you to know that, because we think the public, we have an ethical responsibility to let the public know this so that they can express their
You
concerns.
do, and I will tell you that I have spoke to Mr. Whitaker, and I told him I am tired of having people, can't say this here, but the way I want to say it, people crawling up and dying inside of me. That's a nice way to say it, okay? Without showing me what are you doing. Show me some changes. Show me what the hospital is doing.
Sorry, just to clarify, do you mean community members or the hospital?
I'm talking the hospital.
Okay.
I'm
Sorry,
talking the hospital.
the analogy got
Show
lost
me
on
the
me.
efforts and what the hospital is doing to fix these problems, what we keep hearing about. A lot of this is hearsay stuff, because we don't know what's true, what's not true. We don't. Okay? He's working on trying to get solutions. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors
Sure.
out there, but we hear other people say, this isn't going on and they're not doing this. Do we know? We're working on trying to get, and I'm gonna say this right here in open, we are working to get you and Mr. Whitaker and another individual and a commissioner and Mr. Demas together so that we can sit and talk, okay?
I
let's
would
look at
appreciate it.
this
I
stuff.
think that Mr. Whitaker is honestly he's a lovely person, I think, and I think that he seems like somebody who is a builder. He's a relationship builder. This is my sense about him. So I think that would be great. Yeah.
So please afford us the time
Okay.
to make that happen, to try to get these fixes. But he knows, I've already jumped all over him, and he's sitting back there smiling saying he knows, okay? So it's nothing new.
Okay.
But at the same time, again, we've told you before, and I told you in the meeting, when you come in and you start telling me something that's already happened, I've already told you, look
Okay.
for this.
May I make a comment, please?
We've already.
Oh, this is Dr. Mesloff.
I'm Kathy
Yes,
Mesloff.
ma'am.
I've been here for 42 years,
Dr. Mesloff, would you like to
Yes.
stand?
and it feels to me like we're ignoring an elephant in the room. We know that Mr. Whitaker and you all are really trying to fix things. Much of the damage that has happened with the previous interim CEO, who had no relationship abilities, and disrespected the staff in a way that has really affected the reputation of this hospital. Yeah, and Mr. Whitaker, I hope, can help with that, but a lot of this is in the past, and so I don't think we can ignore that elephant in the room, because that's what I'm
You know,
feeling.
we were 100% right.
We can't go back to the past and
I
fix
know.
it, we have to work forward.
I
We can't
know,
work
but you
forward
can
going
look at
negative.
what actually happened, and we're not spreading false information here. Thank you.
Mr. Whitaker, you have a comment?
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on a couple items that I've said, and I appreciate Dr. Anderson about the audit. We do have a special independent auditor who audits the mill levy accounts, and our CFO can explain that process with you, but that currently is in place and there. That audit is reported to the commissioners, and additionally, the lease allows for a quarterly meeting with the hospital and the county management to go through things that were brought up by Dr. Liu. As I'm going through this process and learning the budgeting process and kind of timeline of things, we'll make sure that those things do happen. I know we've met on a couple occasions to go through items, but those things are outlined in the lease, and as regards to the agenda item related to the mill levy, we want to be compliant with the lease and make sure that we're doing our part to fulfill those requirements.
Sorry, Mr. Whitaker, could I just make one, I just wanted to, I just want to make some, oh, sorry, sure,
I have this gentleman over here, and then I'll let you
sure.
respond back.
Hi, Rick Cruz. I think you all know me. So I don't know enough about it just to say whether they should have the mill levy approved or not. But I think I like Dr. Anderson's idea of having some provisions go along with that. And probably the most important one is to really take serious consideration into defining the board of directors. I think that it's important from the standpoint of the recruitment issue and the bad press. The bad press was well deserved. I don't think there's any question in my mind, and I'll just leave it at that. So if bad press is well deserved, then the changes need to be made, and I think that especially at the board of directors level, they need to be made. I've talked with Anthony Bemis and Mr. Decker, and I have a question for you. You were concerned about the Public Meetings Act, and that was why you weren't appointing people to the board of directors. But we all would like to see transparency, and why not have that Public Meetings Act affected by you guys appointing the
Well,
board of directors,
and you
or
know,
some of
one
the
thing,
board of directors members.
and it was brought up earlier about us meeting in closed session. If we were to sit here and talk about possible appointees, with this group right here, would be here for weeks. Everybody would have a different opinion, we'd never get anything accomplished, and that's, a lot of times we have to go into closed session because we're talking about personnel issues,
Sure.
those types of things, so. I mean, we still bring it back out to the public what we're doing, we're not making any decisions.
Well, I'm not worried about you having closed sessions, but I'm just wanting to see that the board of directors, I think that's where you need to make a change, because that problem with the recruitment is gonna continue as long as the public perceives that, all this press, they know about it, and if you don't make a change, then how is that gonna affect recruitment? My wife's Dr. Poole, she's retiring, and they're not doing much to get a replacement for her. So, anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you. Dr. Lee.
Oh, Mr. Whitaker, I did want to clarify what I meant by independent, I don't know where you were. Independent analysis. I didn't really mean specifically an audit, which I think is of course like very obviously appropriate for, any tax money that the hospital gets and is appropriate in general. And I hope you don't mind me calling it out, but you work for Stroudwater, which, you know this space much better than I do.
Could you address
Oh,
the
sorry.
Services Commission and
I don't wish to turn my back to
When we
this
set up
person.
the
No, I know,
conference
sorry.
agenda, then we could do that, but other than
Okay.
that, you need to address.
Okay, sorry. So Mr. Whitaker used to work, and I think it must have been something very early in his career, but he worked for a fairly impressive company called Stroudwater. And again, I don't know this space nearly as well as he does, but this is the kind of company, as I understand it, that does the sorts of assessment I'm talking about. Back in February, I know that there was a company called Rural Health Solutions that came to do very similar work. I know that that contract was terminated early, and I don't really know the reasons why, but this is the sort of evaluation that I'm talking about. Because sometimes the company will come and they will do an assessment, and it really gives the executive leadership the power to make the changes that they know that they need to make. But having an outside report that gives you that roadmap is, I think, a very helpful thing, and as I understand it, a very useful strategy when it comes to operations management in a large institution like this. So that, I just wanted to clarify what I meant. I didn't really mean specifically a quarterly audit or something like that, but I meant a very specific project that's intended to sort of bring us out of the hole. Anyway, thank you.
Any other comments? Dr. Anderson?
Thank you. Just a really quick follow-up. I think that a lot of what's been said illustrates my point that we need metrics, and my recommendation is that, if I can use that term, my recommendation is that the RMCHCS Board of Directors submit to you what they think how they think they should be evaluated, how they're evaluating their own performance. They should submit that to you, those discrete metrics. You should review them. You should give them your suggestions or what you require. Everybody comes to an agreement on it, and then it's published. And that way there's no more bad information. Everything right now is subjective. And now we'll have objective evidence, not of an overnight turnaround. Nobody expects by October everything's gonna be fixed. But by October, we should be seeing an upward trend. And it's the metrics that'll give you your upward trend or the lack of it. Thank you very much.
Just make a comment that, anytime we try to institute changes, there's always some resistance. We always have to work harder to make sure everybody's thinking the same way. We care about both groups here. We care about our hospital. We care about their well-being. And we care about your opinions. They're not falling on deaf ears, but we're wanting to make sure we have solutions before we jump and make rash decisions. So, sir.
I'm Dr. Sloan, and, one is I want to be so thankful for the commission and your interest in healthcare and the fact that you're invested in healthcare. And I think that is a good thing. I think the mill levy obviously is needed if you look at the financial statements of the hospital. I happened to go to the first board meeting of the hospital just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I think, something like that. And I also want to put in perspective that I used to review hospitals' financial sheets. Now, they were Indian Health Service hospitals, some though were 638. And if you look at Indian Health Service revenue, by the way, for example, the Gallup Medical Center bills over $100 million in third-party revenue each year. We're highly dependent upon that. And the budget is very fluid in Indian Health Service facilities, just like any business. You hire, you fire based upon budget and this kind of thing. and you try to have stability in your budget picture. For example, what alarmed me a little bit in the board meeting was that the CPA presented some very illustrative budget figures. They were alarming. I mean, to me, they were alarming. And when I used to review hospitals, I would have put a red light on and said, wait a second, what's your financial plan to recover from this? I want a 6-month plan right now. How are you going to build out of this? This particular board, led by Mr. McCarron, had no comment. They didn't comment on this deficit. There were reports by department chiefs, and they indicated things they were going to improve, the air conditioning, whatever. But there was like a disassociation between the budget figures and what the department chiefs were saying they were gonna do. And that concerned me greatly, just from an experience viewpoint. That would alarm me, and particularly with regard to their management plan. Is it a Deming management plan? What kind of plan do they have? What are they implementing? And how is it going to work? Now, interestingly, the figures are just alarming, that's all I can say. I mean, it's just red ink. And so those are things that get my attention. Now, there's an anticipated further reduction in revenue because of the complexities of implementing CERNA. And they made it clear that don't expect any better figures in 3 months. It's not going to happen because they're having difficulty implementing the system. It has a lot to do with billing, by the way. The other thing that they mentioned is that the revenue was really reduced because of decreased outpatient visits, decreased diagnostic tests such as laboratory and x-ray. And that's kind of what you expect if you have a reduction in the number of physicians, as well as if you have out-migration of patients. Patients still get sick, but where do they go? And so if they're not coming to our hospital, they're gonna go to other hospitals, and so patients in Gallup are doing that. And there's good evidence about migration. That's not going to change very quickly, unless you have a real strategic plan to improve your medical staff, the type of doctors you have, and they can establish relationships with their patients. Now, the meeting was conducted by Mr. McKinnon, who mentioned that we were fortunate to be there. This is when he ended the meeting. Because he said this is a private 501(c), and they are not required to have open meetings. Hit the gavel down, and that was the end of the meeting. No questions. And, you know, all I can say is that with the kind of budgetary figures we're seeing, the concern of the community, this is very concerning. How you're in the middle of this, I don't know entirely. It's quite unusual.
We don't
but it is serious business for the community, and you can't solve the whole problem. No, we know that, and the mill levy needs to go through. They need help. What we're saying is, you need to be aware, everybody needs to be aware, this thing seems to be going south. And have 2 years of this company, not the CEO of this company, managing this hospital, and they've spent incredible amounts of money, and we aren't seeing a lot of results. And there's a lot of red ink, and that concerns me when I review hospitals. Thank you very, very much for listening to me, and I appreciate you greatly. Believe me, anyone says anything negative, I would counter it entirely and say, look, they are really in a difficult position, and other entities should be taking care of this. This private 501(c) should be taking care of it. I don't know who is that, but they need to be taking care of it, and quickly.
This is what we signed up for. We,
Can I say something, sir?
sure.
Okay. I am just a
Can you
regular.
state your name for the record?
Sure, Leanne Gilson.
Take
I've
your
lived
mask
here-
off.
Okay. I've lived here for 40+ years. I love Gallup. I've been able to get my medical care here, clinics and hospital, and hope to be able to do that for many years to come. I'm a homeowner, so I pay property taxes. I'm disturbed that some of the taxes are heading out of Gallup to Texas, to a company that's trying to run the hospital. We don't need a company. This hospital has run very well, most of my time here with, except the last few years, with local leadership. And now, I always have voted for mill levies, but we can't even get an appointment. I don't know if any of you have tried, but you can't get an appointment. You can't, the phones aren't being answered. And so people are going elsewhere, as Dr. Sloan said. How many people have tried to get an appointment and you can't? How many people are going to grants?
Okay, ma'am, I
Farmington,
get all that, because that's exactly what I've already brought up to Mr. Whitaker, those same
Okay,
issues.
good, thank you. Because my money, I want my money to stay in Gallup.
Mr. Demus, you tried to get an appointment in Albuquerque for surgery, minor surgery. What'd they tell you?
Understaffed and not putting anybody for several months out.
At least they answered.
That's Albuquerque, you ended up having to go to Santa Fe.
I was scheduled to go to Farmington, couldn't get in there.
So, it's just not here. I mean, we understand.
And we know it seems like it's more here, and we really do understand that. But it's, again, it's not just Gallup, and those same concerns you brought up, I literally have been all over Mr. Whitaker
Thank you.
about those same issues.
Thank you for doing that
Being
for
able to
regular
answer the
citizens.
phones, having somebody there,
Mhm.
trying to get in.
Mhm.
That's one of the reasons I brought up earlier, what are you doing on recruitment, what are we doing on
Mhm.
retention?
Great questions,
So-
thank you.
We guarantee folks, some of the same questions you have are some of the same questions we've been asking RMCH. Come to us with some answers so that we have answers to give to you. I
Yeah,
also asked Mr. Whitaker, please provide information to the community so we can stop hearing, again, I don't know, whether it's true information or it's false information, whether it's fake news. I don't know, but I personally, like I tell them, I wanna know what the hospital is doing. I see a lot of stuff that Grants is doing. They publish a lot. They got good media stuff.
In my mailbox.
We need good media to be telling us, what is our hospital doing? But
Well,
we
you-
need help, at least, folks, if I could at least challenge you, just say something that positive that the hospital's doing. if you can. Something positive. Not everything has to be negative. No,
I have a
Dr. Lou, you don't get a chance to talk.
I promise you, this is so good though.
I know.
So,
You had your
But I
15
did-
minutes of
Okay.
fame.
I did hear you ask for answers, and one thing that I said previously, but I'll say again, is that I've seen the hospital run locally very well,
I've also
beautifully.
seen a hospital
They
run
don't
locally
need,
into the dirt.
we don't
Really?
need outside corporation and our tax money going to Texas. We want it to stay here, so that would be one of my responses to you, saying, give us something, give us an answer. And I think, as Dr. Sloan said, that could happen quickly. It wouldn't take forever to make that happen. And it's run that way before, so that's what I'd like to leave with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. State your name.
My name is Gerald Yoakum. I actually have a couple of questions about the recently modified lease, if I could. It was reported that the termination letter that was sent to the hospital